The Predator knelt, a towering figure of plated black armor, with fangs that pierced holes and eyes like molten coals, lowered its head in silence. Across the ancient tribunal chamber, no one moved. Breath caught, worlds froze. It bowed, not to a conqueror, nor to a god, but to a human. Commander Ilara Voss stood motionless as 100 alien eyes bore into her. The silence wasn't peace. It was disbelief. 6 days earlier, aboard diplomatic cruiser Aegis Dawn, en route to Veldar Prime, Ilara Voss sat alone in the observation deck, her eyes tracing the jagged lines of the Dyson ring that shimmered on the horizon. Veldar Prime, ancient, immense, and coiled with secrets. Even in deep space, it pulsed like something alive. The walls around her hummed softly, pressurized and sterile, but her mind wasn't on the ship. She stared at the encrypted datapad in her palm. The message was short, to the representatives of Earth. The Dominion of Karesh summons you to stand before Apex, Overlord Zhar'Kor, at the tribunal wills. Refusal shall be taken as surrender. Compliance shall determine your survival. Ilara's jaw tightened. No pretense of diplomacy. No warmth. Just a chilling certainty of power, written with the confidence of something that had never lost. Behind her, footsteps. Lieutenant Marek approached, cautious. Council's message just came through, he said. They want you to maintain courtesy and seek common ground. His voice lowered, as if we're not walking into a lion's den. We are, Ilara replied, except it's worse. This lion invited us in to test the meat. Marek shifted uneasily. Maybe we kneel, just this once, for Earth, for peace. Ilara turned to face him. That's not peace. That's permission to be owned. He swallowed, nodding once. Yes, Commander. She dismissed him gently and turned back to the stars. In the reflection of the glass, she saw her own face, calm, unreadable, but beneath the surface, a memory stirred. 5 years ago, a battlefield, smoke and blood and screams. She had kneeled once before, unarmed, hands raised. The enemy commander had given her the choice, yield and save hostages, or resist and let them die. She had knelt. The hostages died anyway. She buried her comrades the next day with her own hands. Since then, the idea of kneeling to anything tightened her lungs like a vice. The next morning, Aegis Dawn docked with the massive external gate of Veldar Prime. The alien station dwarfed their vessel, a vast latticework of black metal and blue ion channels, like a cathedral built by machines that worship war. Inside, the halls were cavernous and cold. Dozens of species moved in silence, flanked by guards in metallic exosuits. The Tribunal of Wills was more than a chamber. It was a theater of power. Ilara led the delegation with measured steps. No nerve showed, no falter in her spine. Earth's flag, stitched onto her uniform, was the only color in the gray corridor. Then the doors opened. The chamber was vast, vaulted like a tomb, silent like deep ocean pressure. A curved ring of alien representatives stood above the central floor, watching. At the far end, descending like a god, came Zhar'Kor, 10 feet tall, covered in armor that looked grown rather than forged. Each movement fluid, deliberate. His skull-like helmet was etched with symbols of conquest. 8 species had bowed before him. 5 no longer existed. He stopped 5 meters from Ilara. His voice was low, not booming, but it filled the air. Human, he said, tasting the word like a challenge. You walk with spine. Unbroken. Few do. Ilara met his gaze. We stand as equals. Earth answers your summons. You were summoned to kneel. That was the invitation. No, that was the expectation. We didn't come to beg. A ripple moved through the chamber. Some of the aliens hissed in their tongues. Others watched with narrowed eyes. The tension was real, crackling in the air like a wire stretched to breaking. Zhar'Kor tilted his head, amused or intrigued. You refuse to kneel, he said, stepping closer. Do you understand what that means in this chamber? Yes, Ilara said. It means I still have a choice. Then choose the trial, he growled. The last species that did burn before they bowed. Ilera didn't blink. Then let your fire come. Silence. Zhar'Kor smiled, or perhaps bared his teeth. The distinction wasn't clear. So, be it. The trial of ascendance begins at dawn. He turned and strode away. The heavy door shut behind him with a hiss. Her team exploded into whispers the moment he left. Commander, we should reconsider. Earth's colonies aren't ready for this. He'll crush you. Ilera raised a hand. Silence fell. If we bow now, we teach the galaxy to treat us like livestock, she said. But if we stand, even if we lose, we show them we're not prey. Marek nodded slowly. Then we hold the line. She looked up at the high chamber walls, then back at the doors. No more yielding. No more kneeling. This time they would bow. The tribunal of wills was not built for comfort. It was carved from obsidian-hued alloys that absorbed warmth, layered with alien inscriptions that pulse faintly, like veins beneath metal skin. The chamber radiated silence. Thick, unblinking silence. Commander Ilera Voss stood at the center of it, surrounded by delegates from 100 worlds. She wore no armor, carried no weapon, just the Earth emblem on her shoulder, silver and blue, and the weight of humanity's future pressed into her spine. Above her, the tears of observers whispered in their alien tongues, their murmurs translating into clipped phrases via implants. Primitive species. She refuses to kneel? Bold or suicidal? Across the circular arena, Zhar'Kor stepped forward. He no longer wore the ceremonial robes of a tribunal leader. Now he stood in his true form, armored, sharpened, draped in the living hide of something long extinct. His talons clicked against the stone floor as he approached, each footfall heavy with intent. The trial of ascendance is not a performance, Zhar'Kor said, his voice like stone grinding against stone. It is tradition. It is truth. Those who take it and survive earn status. And those who fail, Ilera asked, are remembered as bones beneath this floor. No flare of threat, no theatrical menace, just statement. Final. From the edges of the chamber, 6 Koresh war priests emerged. They carried long metallic rods etched with glowing red script. Together, they circled Ilera, forming a shifting hexagon of humming light. The trial was about to begin. Lieutenant Marek, watching from the perimeter, took a step forward. Commander, he began quietly. She turned to him, just for a second. No words exchanged, just a nod, measured, calm. Then she turned back to face the apex predator of the galaxy. I'm ready, she said. Zhar'Kor lifted his hand. The priest slammed the rods into the ground. The circle flared, and the chamber around Ilera melted away. She stood in a desert now. Ash-gray sand stretched for miles under a sunless sky. The air was still, too still. No wind, no sound, just the emptiness. Then came the footsteps. Ilera turned and saw them. Her squad, 7 figures in black tactical suits, faces she knew like her own, walking toward her in silence. Commander Doran, Sergeant Riva, young Kalen, every one of them dead for 5 years. They stopped 10 meters away. Riva spoke. Her voice was soft, choked. You knelt, El. We trusted you, and you knelt. Ilera clenched her fists. The trial wasn't physical. It was psychological. It used memories, fears, guilt. She'd expected this. Still, her chest tightened. I thought I was saving you, she said. You didn't, Kalen said. His voice cracked. They slit our throats while you bowed. The desert began to swirl, and suddenly she was back in that ruined building, knees in the dirt, unarmed, surrounded by enemy drones. Smoke filled the air. Her squad, muzzle bleeding, lined up in front of her. You chose them over us, Doran whispered. I tried to stop the bloodshed, Ilera said, louder now, but they killed you anyway. I never forgave myself. The illusion shifted again. Now it was Earth, New Geneva in flames. Alien ships above, cities crumbling, civilians screaming. A voice boomed overhead. Zhar'Kor's. This is the future of your species. Ilera Voss. If you fail. She didn't move. That's not prophecy. That's a threat. And threats don't break me. The trial threw more at her. Her own corpse, her parents' voices begging her to surrender, a hologram of Earth's flag burning. Each illusion more personal, more cruel, but she stood still. Because in all of it, the guilt wasn't what broke her. It was what made her human. She had learned from it. She had changed. And she had vowed never to kneel again, not because she was arrogant, but because she'd seen what happened when fear made decisions. Suddenly, the sky cracked. Lightning split across the clouds. Zhar'Kor appeared, his form towering across the burning earth. "You are soft," he said. "You resist because you are young and blind." "No," Illyra said, locking eyes with the giant projection. "We resist because we see what happens when power goes unchallenged." Zhar'Kor growled. "You fear death." "Everyone does," she said. "But fear isn't surrender. It's fuel." The projection lunged, monstrous hands reaching, but the illusion shattered. The desert, the ruins, the ghosts, all gone. Illyra was back in the circle of light, unbroken. The war priest stumbled back. Zhar'Kor's head tilted, his jaw flexing. Illyra wiped a line of sweat from her brow. "That's it? I thought this was supposed to test me." The chamber stirred with reaction, some amused, others stunned. Zhar'Kor stepped forward again. "No illusions have held you. No fracture found in your mind." "How?" "I already live with the worst version of myself," Illyra said. "The trial just reminded me. That's not power. That's memory." A slow, low sound emerged from Zhar'Kor's throat, a noise few had ever heard. Laughter. Dark. Rough. Genuine. "You are strange, human," he said. "You bleed like prey, but think like predator." She said nothing. He looked to the priests. "The trial is complete." She did not break. She did not bow. Around the chamber, representatives began whispering again. Some species turned and left. Others took notes. Illyra turned to her team. Marek looked pale but nodded with quiet awe, the predator across his arms. "Tomorrow, the tribunal convenes for judgment. Your fate is not yet sealed." Illyra stepped closer. "It never was yours to seal." Their eyes met. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Zhar'Kor turned away. And for the first time, it wasn't clear who held the power in that chamber. The door hissed shut behind her, sealing Illyra in darkness. She stood still, hands by her sides, breathing slow and steady. The chamber was quiet. Too quiet. No echo. No hum. Just an unnatural stillness, like the void between stars. This was the Koresh Mind Arena. It was no simulation. It was living tech, a neural interface that scanned thoughts, memories, emotions, and shaped them into an environment designed to unravel the subject from within. It didn't come at you with blades. It let you do the cutting. Illyra closed her eyes. The floor dissolved. She awoke in a sterile corridor. Cold white lights. Metallic walls. The old Earth Space barracks, long since decommissioned. She recognized the exact scuff mark on the corner panel. She'd spent 3 years training here, back when she still believed in clean endings and sharp lines between right and wrong. But this wasn't nostalgia. Ahead, a door slid open. Footsteps echoed. 7 pairs. Her squad again. Same as before, but this time alive. Talking, laughing, walking toward her like nothing had happened. "Vas!" Doran grinned. "You forget the mission brief again?" She didn't answer. Kalen bumped her shoulder, smiling. "Don't worry. You always catch up." Reva winked. She pretends she's slow. It's a tactic. They passed by her, heading toward the hangar. She followed. The corridor stretched longer, walls turning darker. Lights flickered. The air grew heavy. The laughter stopped. Then came the screams. The corridor twisted, warped into charred ruins. Cracks split the floor. Blood smeared the walls. The squad lay sprawled, burned, broken, silent. A voice behind her. "You chose wrong again." She turned. Zhar'Kor stood in the ruins, no longer armored, just bone and muscle, monstrous and vast, with emberlit eyes and voice like thunder. "You knelt once, and they died. You stand now, and Earth will follow." Illyra swallowed hard, steadying her breath. Memory isn't truth, she said. No, he rumbled. But fear is. The walls cracked open into a cityscape, New Geneva, engulfed in fire. Alien warships hovered above, launching strikes on helpless civilians. A girl clutched a bloodied teddy bear beneath a collapsing bridge. A boy screamed for his mother inside a burning car. Every image more vivid than the last. You will cause this, Zhar'Kor's voice whispered. Your arrogance, your pride. Illyria dropped to one knee, not in surrender, but to steady herself. She shut her eyes, filtering sound from sensation. She knew what this was. A trap, not just fear, but guilt, responsibility, projection. The arena dug deep, found the fractures, and twisted them until the subject cracked. But she had prepared for this. Her voice was quiet, measured. I am not perfect. I have made mistakes. I carry them all. The fire roared louder. But I don't kneel to regret. I walk with it. The scene didn't vanish. It fought back. Suddenly, her parents appeared. Faces she hadn't seen since her enlistment, standing at her childhood home's threshold. Her mother cried. Her father looked disappointed. You left us, her father said. You chased glory. Her mother shook her head. We were never proud. You never came back. Illyria's breath hitched, but she didn't break. No, she whispered. You told me to fight for what matters. I did. The house burned away. Now she stood in blackness, alone. Then a new voice echoed. Quiet human. You're not enough. This voice wasn't alien. It was hers. You're just pretending, acting strong. But deep down, you're still that girl on her knees, hoping they'll spare someone. Illyria didn't reply right away. She let the silence linger. Then, I am that girl, and I'm still standing. The voice stopped. The environment changed. She stood once more in the tribunal chamber, but this time it was empty. No observers. No walls. Just the echo of footsteps. Zhar'Kor stepped out of the void again, his expression unreadable. You should have broken by now. Illyria looked up at him. You think pain is weakness. That fear is defeat. He said nothing. She took a step forward. But that's your flaw. You see resistance only in strength. You don't understand restraint. You lecture me? He growled. I outlasted your arena, she said. I faced everything it threw at me. It didn't beat me. I walked through it. You endured. I chose to. Zhar'Kor studied her. Then the arena flickered. The chamber around her glitched, pixel by pixel, lines of code stuttering. The war priests outside scrambled to maintain the link, but it was too late. The arena rejected its purpose. She had passed. When her eyes opened, she was back inside the original chamber. The rods around her dimmed. Sweat lined her brow, but she stood tall, her posture unbroken. Zhar'Kor remained still, silent. His eyes scanned her. No visible wounds. No tremor in her hands. No broken spirit. He stepped forward, close enough for her to see the tiny black scars along his plated jaw. Marks of old battles. Even predators wore history. You, he said slowly, walk through fire and carry your own ashes. I carry what I must, Illyria replied. You are not what I expected. Neither is Earth. He nodded once, barely visible. The trial of ascendance is complete. No failure. No fracture. Marek exhaled sharply from the sidelines. A low murmur spread through the observers again. For the first time, humanity had passed the Koresh trial without kneeling, without breaking, without violence. Illyria stepped away from the circle. Her gait never faltered. She returned to her delegation and stood beside Marek. Status, she asked quietly. He gave her a crooked smile. You just redefined the word diplomat. She looked back once more. Zhar'Kor hadn't moved, but his eyes had changed, and in a place where only power earned respect. Something ancient had just taken notice. The tribunal chamber had never been this silent. Even the atmosphere processors, always humming in the background, now seemed muted, as if the ship itself held its breath. Illyria stood at the heart of the arena's aftermath. the faint imprint of the mind trial's platform still visible beneath her boots. Her body ached from mental exertion, but she showed no sign of fatigue. Her eyes, however, stayed sharp, fixed on Zhar'Kor. He hadn't moved since her trial ended, towering, still, watching her the way a hawk tracks a storm it doesn't understand. Then he finally spoke. "Why did you not fight?" His voice was quieter than before, stripped of theatrics. Not a challenge, but a question. Genuine. Curious. Ilara took a step forward. "Because that's what you expected. And you don't learn anything from the expected." A low rumble echoed from his chest. Something between amusement and consideration. "You believe you taught me?" "No," she said. "I believe you're capable of learning." A flicker of movement behind Zhar'Kor. One of the war priests shifted uneasily. To them, this exchange was blasphemy. Humans weren't meant to speak as equals, let alone shift the balance. From the observation balcony, voices rose, whispers, arguments, political panic. Ambassadors and dignitaries scrambled to recalibrate their positions. The galactic order didn't allow for anomalies like this. A human walking out of the mind arena untouched. Ilara turned her back on the arena and walked toward the council core, a circular dais where representatives of all major species sat. Zhar'Kor followed. The council members tensed. 2 guards, scaled, silver-eyed reptilians from the Tyrant Dominion, took defensive stances, a diplomatic reflex. Zhar'Kor ignored them. Ilara stepped onto the platform. Her voice rang out, confident but unforced. "You convened this council to judge whether humanity belongs in the Accord. You tested us with words. You tested us with fire. You threw your strongest predator at us." She gestured back to Zhar'Kor, and I stood my ground. "You endured a simulation," spat Counselor Vorzen, an insectoid from the Zhar'Kor hive. "That is not strength. It is stubbornness." Ilara turned to him. "When your people were hunted to extinction by the void spawn, you didn't fight back. You hid. You endured. And that's why your civilization still breathes." Vorzen recoiled, mandibles twitching. Zhar'Kor spoke again, louder now, for all to hear. She endured more than fear. She held the mirror to herself, saw what she hated, and she walked through it. A murmur ran through the crowd. Ilara didn't break her gaze from the council. "You fear us because we change things," she said. "We don't bow to hierarchies. We question traditions. And we do the one thing you've forgotten, we evolve." She looked directly at Counselor Sale, the Valari diplomat who once voted against Earth's inclusion without a second thought. "Your empires stagnate. Your treaties rust. You've forgotten how to be hungry for more than survival." Sale's expression shifted. Not quite agreement, but hesitation. Doubt. It was enough. Marek leaned in from the side. "You're pushing hard," he murmured. "Might be time to—" A horn blast cut him off. Deep and guttural. Not ceremonial. A warning. Red glyphs flashed across the upper chamber's holoscreens. A message in Koresh war code. Breach detected. Unknown vessel. The chamber plunged into chaos. Council guards surged forward. Diplomats barked into comms. Defensive fields crackled around dignitaries. Zhar'Kor's stance changed in an instant. No longer contemplative. Now predator mode engaged. "What kind of breach?" Ilara asked Marek. He checked his datapad, frowning. No ID tag. It bypassed 6 perimeter satellites. No transponder. And it's close. The ceiling split open into a transparent dome. Outside, through the field of stars, a dark shape emerged from the blackness. Angular. Silent. Massive. It didn't match any known profile. Marek's voice dropped. "Ilara, that ship's bigger than anything in the registry." No one knew who it belonged to. Zhar'Kor's eyes narrowed. "This is not one of ours." Then the vessel spoke. Not through comms. Through them. A psychic wave rippled through the chamber. Unfiltered, emotionless, deafening. A voice that wasn't a voice at all, but a consciousness pressing against their minds. "We see your predator. We reject your peace. The harvest begins again." Screams. Collapse. One delegate fell to ground, blood leaking from his nose. Ilara's ears rang, her knees buckled, but she forced herself upright. "Who the hell are they?" she whispered. Zhar'Kor responded without turning. "They were extinct. Burned away before the council was born." "You sure about that?" "No." A blast lit up the edge of the station. No impact. The field held, but just barely. Ilara turned to the council. "You wanted proof that Earth is more than chaos and flesh?" She pointed to the black ship, looming overhead. "We fought worse without your help. Don't ask what we bring to your accord. Ask what you'll do when we're not in it." Counselor Sale stood, hesitation gone. "We need the humans." Others followed, the council fracturing, shifting, and through it all, Zhar'Kor stood still. Then, slowly, deliberately, he dropped to one knee, not as a warrior defeated, but in recognition. "Command us," he said. Ilara blinked. "Excuse me?" He looked up. "I do not kneel to weakness. I kneel to potential. And you carry fire in your bones." She didn't respond. Couldn't. For a moment, even her own breath stalled. Then she looked at the council again. "Mobilize everything. Send our specs. Coordinate defenses. And Earth." Marek asked. Her voice hardened. "Alert Earth Defense Command. Tell them. Unknown hostiles, psychic capable, non-negotiable. Initiate Solar Bastion Protocol." He nodded. All channels. All of them. The Predator had bowed. The Council had fractured. And humanity, once judged a threat, was now the line holding the stars together. The void outside the station pulsed with silent menace. The unidentified vessel, monolithic and obsidian black, hovered like a judgment long deferred. It had no visible engines, no ports, no insignias, just sheer mass and intent. Inside the tribunal chamber, chaos was giving way to grim urgency. Counselors shouted across the chamber, switching languages mid-sentence. Guard units stormed in with weapons raised, only to pause in confusion. No one knew who they were meant to shoot. Ilara stood in the center of it all, the epicenter of a storm made of silence and panic. "Weapons grid is charging," Marek said, eyes glued to his data lens. "But we don't even know where to aim." Zhar'Kor spoke beside her, his voice low. "You cannot destroy what lives between dimensions. That ship is not just here. It bleeds through." Ilara turned toward him. "You recognize it?" "The Zareth, ancient feeders. Mind thieves. We thought them extinct before language existed. Then how are they back?" His expression darkened. Something must have opened the old voids. Something hungry enough to feed them. The ship moved again, not forward, not back, just closer, in a way space itself couldn't properly measure. And then the voices came again. Psychic pressure that rattled bones and split thoughts. You kneel before flame. You crawl behind flesh. You remember pain. We bring forgetting. A psychic scream tore through the station. 3 council guards collapsed, clutching their skulls. The air itself shimmered. Marek shouted, "We've got mass energy distortions. They're trying to phase breach the station core. They're going for the AI spine," Ilara said. "If they take the Council's logic core, they'll shut down every defense protocol across the Accord." She turned to the Council. "Authorize planetary defenses now. Earth's Bastion Protocol can punch through that armor." "We don't fire on what we don't understand," snapped Counselor Vorzen. Ilara stepped toward him. "We are past understanding." She didn't wait for consensus. "Zhar'Kor, with me." The Predator straightened. "To war? To buy time." They moved fast, down through the lift shafts, across anti-grav bridges, and into the neural corridor leading to the station's logic core. The lights flickered above them, then dimmed to red. Emergency protocols. Energy was being drawn away. Zhar'Kor gripped the hilt of his living blade. Their presence corrodes energy fields. We'll lose light, communication, air. Ilara glanced at him. Then we don't waste either. At the logic chamber doors, Marek's voice came through a shaky calm burst. 30 seconds. They're breaking through. Ilara slammed her palm to the panel. "Override, rank Sigma, Ilara Miles, Earth Defense Liaison. authorizing defense deployment under Emergency Protocol Alpha 9. The door slid open. Inside, the AI core pulsed, an octagonal pillar surrounded by floating neural links and conduits, its glow fading like a dying heartbeat. And then the walls rippled. They didn't breach. The Zhar'Kor bled through. Illyra's eyes widened. What the hell are they? Half-formed shapes flickered into view. Humanoid silhouettes, but wrong. Too long, too thin. Faces featureless save for pulsing, spherical eyes. They move without moving, trailing black mist that swallowed light. Zhar'Kor leapt forward. Guard the core. His blade hissed to life, a beam forged in gravitational fire. It struck the first creature and passed through. The thing didn't scream. It shuddered, then split apart into writhing strands. Another move for Illyra. She fired her sidearm. 5 shots in the span of a breath. Each one sank in, but the thing just kept coming. Not matter. Zhar'Kor roared. They feed on fear, project against them. She closed her eyes for a heartbeat. Focused. Pain. Fire. The memory of her mother's death. The sound of falling towers back on Earth during the siege of 2167. The feeling of being helpless. She turned it outward, not fear, but fury. Her scream wasn't a terror, but defiance. The creature reeled. Its form splintered, light bleeding through cracks in the shadow. It evaporated. Zhar'Kor grinned. That's how we killed them last time, with a fire in the soul. Illyra stood by the AI core, breath ragged. Then let's burn every damn one. More came. Dozens. She and Zhar'Kor stood side by side, her mind a furnace, his blade a beacon. They didn't fight alone. The station itself began to adapt, defensive algorithms awakening, targeting systems focusing on frequency shifts. Marek's voice crackled through the comm again. The Council just greenlit full engagement. Earth's Bastion protocol is online. Firing window in 90 seconds. Illyra nodded grimly. Tell them to aim for the core mass, and not stop until it breaks open. The logic chamber shook. One of the Zhar'Kor reached the AI pillar. Its tendrils sank into the circuits. Sparks flew. System integrity dropped to 43%. Zhar'Kor, she shouted. He hurled his blade, straight through the creature and into the core. The blade struck the base of the pillar, sending a pulse of disruptive energy upward. The parasite screamed, disintegrating. The AI flickered, then stabilized. Marek came over the channel again. Brace. Earth's orbital platform is launching kinetic rods. Through the chamber dome, a shaft of light streaked across space. The rods, pure tungsten, 10 meters long, descended like divine punishment. One struck the Zhar'Kor vessel's upper hull. No explosion, just implosion. The black ship folded in on itself, like paper in a bonfire. The psychic pressure collapsed in an instant. Silence returned. Illyra sank to her knees. Zhar'Kor offered his hand. Your kind is fire, he said quietly. I see that now. She looked up at him, her eyes tired but fierce. We survive, then we evolve, and when pushed, we fight like hell. Epilogue. 3 days later, the Accord voted. Unanimous. Humanity was accepted, not out of pity nor politics, but necessity. They had faced an enemy older than memory and held the line. Illyra stood on the council balcony, overlooking a new alliance being forged, not a convenience, but a fire-tested unity. Zhar'Kor joined her. They will fear your people now, he said. She glanced at him. They should.